Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B CBS Gossip 24 channel. The air inside the elegantly decorated cliffside chapel shimmered with that restless, electric anticipation that always seems to cling to weddings in Los Angeles, especially ones attended by people with overwhelmingly complicated histories. But even amid the glimmering lights, the white roses, the soft golden drapes swaying in the ocean breeze, and the hush of 100 guests rising to their feet as Hope Logan prepared to make her walk down the aisle toward Liam Spencer, there was an undercurrent, something unspoken, something quietly warning that this day, no matter how beautiful it appeared on the surface, would not unfold the way everyone hoped. Yet even that subtle vibration of dread couldn't have prepared them for what was about to happen. Hope, luminous in her lace gown, gripped her bouquet of gardenias and peonies with a trembling hand she hoped no one noticed. Her smile was bright, but her mind raced with fragmented thoughts about everything she and Liam had survived to reach this moment. Infidelities, reconciliations, misunderstandings, betrayals, the whirlwind of fractured trust patched together with stubborn love. She took a steadying breath as Brooke dabbed a happy tear from the corner of her eye. Ridge murmured something fatherly and encouraging, and the soft chords of the wedding march began echoing beneath the arching wooden beams. Liam stood waiting, hands clasped, eyes shining, posture rigid with excitement and affection, believing with every ounce of his heart that what happened today would finally cement the future he and Hope had struggled so long to seize. The guests collectively leaned forward, enchanted by the pageantry, unaware that danger, real, snarling, unpredictable danger, was already slithering its way toward them, heels clicking against the polished marble floor, lips curved in a wicked triumphant smile. The moment the double doors at the back of the chapel swung inward, Hope expected the crowd to rise for her, but instead the aisle erupted into horrified gasps. A black-clad silhouette stood there, framed by light like some terrible omen. Whispers rippled like wildfire. "No. It can't be. It's impossible. She's dead, she's in prison, she's gone." But the figure stepped forward, slowly, savoring the stunned paralysis she left in her wake, and the truth became undeniable. It was Sheila Carter. Her dark curls fell wildly around her shoulders, her crimson dress clung to her like living flame, and her eyes, those cold, predatory, calculating eyes, burned with a purpose so chilling that even the bravest among the guests instinctively reached for their phones, for the doors, for anything that might tether them to safety. Hope froze. Liam's face drained of color. Brooke's hand flew to her mouth. Ridge shoved forward as if ready to block whatever madness Sheila intended to unleash. But Sheila simply lifted one finger to silence them, though the room was already absolutely still. The wedding planner tripped backward into a display of hydrangeas. Someone whispered a shaky prayer. Even the music cut out mid-note, leaving only Sheila's soft, taunting laugh to fill the vacuum. "Don't stop on my account," she crooned, sauntering farther inside. "It's a wedding after all. A celebration. A union built on love and lies." The final word cracked through the air like lightning. Hope, struggling to breathe, looked first at Liam, whose trembling jaw suggested he feared exactly what she feared, and then back at Sheila, whose wicked satisfaction only grew. "Get out," Brooke hissed, stepping forward, but Sheila cut her off with a raised hand. "Oh, Brooke dear," she said mockingly, "I will, but not until I've given the bride and groom my gift." She reached into her clutch, prompting half the room to duck as though expecting a weapon, but she withdrew only an envelope, white, pristine, sealed with red wax. She held it delicately between two fingers. "This," she announced, "contains the truth. A truth so explosive, so life-altering that once Hope reads it, there will be no wedding. No future. No happily ever after." She turned her gaze upon Liam, who looked ready to lunge at her. "You see," she said softly, "the two of you have been living in a fantasy. You think your love can survive anything? You think you know each other." Her smile stretched, cruel and triumphant. "You don't." Hope's heart hammered violently. "What do you want, Sheila?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "Why are you doing this?" Sheila laughed again, the sound low and vicious. "Because, sweetheart, sometimes the truth demands to be known." She took another step into the aisle, ignoring the frantic murmurs growing around her. "You can glare at me all you want, Liam, but you're the one who set all of this in motion. Your actions, your secrets, your choices." Liam staggered back. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, though even he seemed unsure of the words spilling from his mouth. Hope grabbed his hand, squeezing so tightly that her knuckles whitened. Every memory, every mistake, every painful chapter in their shared history, flooded her at once, but none of it explained this. None of it explained why Sheila of all people would be here claiming she had a revelation powerful enough to destroy them. Brooke tried again to intervene, but Ridge caught her arm and shook his head. "Let the sheriff handle it," he murmured urgently. But Sheila seemed to anticipate the attempt at control and raised her voice sharply. "No one is calling anyone until Hope hears what she deserves to hear." She lifted the envelope higher. "Inside this is proof, undeniable proof, about the one person she trusts most in the world." Her gaze fell on Liam again, the man standing at the altar. Hope's blood turned to ice. "What did you do, Liam?" she whispered, terror rising like a tide. Liam shook his head frantically. "Nothing, Hope, I swear I didn't. Sheila is lying, she's always lying." "Not this time," Sheila interjected. "Oh, I've manipulated, schemed, twisted fate itself, but I have never lied about this." She paused dramatically, her breath heaving, milking every terrified heartbeat. "Hope, your fiancé has been hiding something. A truth that connects him to me." The chapel erupted again, shouts, confusion, disbelief. Liam's knees buckled. Hope swayed. Brooke stepped in front of her daughter protectively, while Ridge put himself between Sheila and the altar. Carter, Wyatt, even Bill instinctively rose from their seats, prepared to tackle Sheila if she showed the slightest hint of aggression. But Sheila simply let the chaos swirl around her like a storm she controlled. "Read it," she insisted, offering the envelope to Hope. "Or should I tell them myself?" Hope stared at the envelope as though it were radioactive. She didn't take it. She couldn't. Her hands trembled too violently. "Tell me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Tell me what you think you know." Sheila inhaled sharply, savoring the moment. "Very well," she said, turning slowly toward the crowd, ensuring every stunned face had full view of hers. "The truth," she announced, "is that Liam is not the man you think he is. Because Liam is connected to my past in a way he has never admitted to anyone." The air thinned. People leaned in. Liam shook his head with desperate force. "Stop this, Sheila. Enough. You're not doing this." "Oh, but I am," she snapped. "Because you tried to bury the truth just like you try to bury every part of yourself that you can't face. But the past has teeth, Liam. Sharp ones. And it always bites back." She turned her head ever so slightly, her eyes glinting. "Hope," she said slowly, "Liam has known, for months, that he may not be who he says he is. That his entire identity, his lineage, his family, may be built on a lie." The gasp that exploded across the room was deafening. Hope clutched her chest. Liam looked like he might collapse. "What the hell are you talking about?" he snapped. Sheila exhaled, savoring his panic. "I'm talking," she said, "about the fact that there is evidence, DNA evidence, suggesting that Liam is my biological son." Silence. Then pandemonium. Hope's bouquet slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a soft, devastating thud. Brooke screamed. Ridge swore. Bill Spencer lurched to his feet so violently that his chair crashed backwards. "What did you just say?" Bill thundered, his voice shaking with fury. "That is impossible." "That is," Sheila cut him off. "Is it, Bill? You sure about that?" Bill's face drained of blood. His rage faltered. Something in his eyes, a flicker, a memory, made the room collectively inhale. Hope staggered backward, her breath coming in shallow gasps. No, this isn't real. This can't be real." Liam looked shattered, shaking his head, backing away from Sheila as though she were a venomous creature ready to strike. "She's lying," he told Hope, begging her with his eyes to believe him. "I didn't know anything. This is insane," Sheila smirked. "You did know," she said softly. "You found out weeks ago. You found the test results. You confronted Bill. You both swore each other to silence." Bill's eyes widened. "Sheila, don't bother denying it," she purred. "I have a copy." The guests recoiled. Hope grabbed the nearest pew to steady herself, feeling her world tilt violently beneath her. "Liam," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell me she's lying. Tell me you didn't hide this from me." Liam looked torn apart. "Hope, I didn't want to say anything until I knew it was false. Thought it was forged. I thought Sheila was manipulating something again. I didn't want to hurt you. His voice cracked as he realized how damning the confession sounded. Hope gasped as though struck. Oh God, she whispered. It's true. You kept this from me. You kept this from me on the day of our wedding. Liam reached for her, but she recoiled as though his touch would burn her. Sheila watched the devastation unfold with rapt satisfaction, though even she seemed moved by the intensity of the moment. This wedding, she said softly, should not go forward until the truth is faced. Liam may be my son, or he may not be. But Hope deserves to know that the man she's marrying might share blood with the most dangerous woman in Los Angeles. Her smile widened. Imagine the headlines. Ridge stepped forward furious. Get out. Now. But Sheila only tilted her head. I will, she purred. But not before Hope decides whether she still wants to marry him. All eyes swung to Hope, whose tears now streamed freely, tracing shimmering paths down her cheeks. She looked at Liam, her partner, her love, her almost husband, and saw a man who had chosen secrecy over honesty, fear over trust. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Because it wasn't real, it couldn't be real. I didn't want to destroy us over a lie. But you destroyed us by hiding it, she said, her voice hollow. You promised me no more secrets. No more lies. Sheila stepped closer to the altar. Hope, she said, voice low and eerily tender, you can walk away. You can save yourself. Because even if the test is false, even if Liam is not my son, he is capable of keeping things from you that could destroy your entire life. Hope's legs gave out and she sank onto the nearest pew, sobbing into her hands. Liam fell to his knees in front of her. Please, he whispered, don't let her do this to us. I love you. I love you more than anything. I didn't want to lose you. Hope looked at him through blurred vision. And now you might. Sheila watched triumphant before turning toward the doors. My work here, she said smugly, is done. But before she could leave, Hope called out, her voice trembling but unmistakably strong. Sheila. Sheila paused, eyebrow arched. We're not finished, Hope said. If you think you can destroy us with this, you're wrong. The guests inhaled sharply. Even Liam looked surprised. Hope stood, wiping her tears, her voice steadying with each breath. I don't know what the truth is yet. I don't know why Liam hid this. I don't know what any of this means. But I will not let you decide my future. Sheila's smirk faltered. Hope stepped closer, fire entering her eyes. You may have dropped a bomb on my wedding, she said, but you don't get to control what happens next. Sheila stared back at her, the chapel breathless with tension. Then slowly she smiled, a smile that promised the drama was far from over. We'll see, she whispered and slipped out through the doors as silently as a ghost. Hope exhaled shakily. Liam reached for her hand again. This time she didn't pull away, but she didn't squeeze back either. The wedding was shattered. Their future was uncertain. But the truth, whatever it was, would come out. And the fallout would change everything. For several long seconds after Sheila Carter's exit, the chapel remained suspended in that eerie, paralyzed silence, as though the walls themselves were struggling to comprehend the storm that had just detonated inside them, and every breath, every heartbeat, every trembling blink seemed unnervingly loud in the cavernous space. Hope, her gown shimmering like crushed glass beneath the soft gold light, stood frozen at the center of the shattered ceremony, her pulse roaring in her ears, her thoughts frantically ricocheting in circles too chaotic to catch. Liam, still kneeling before her with a desperation that turned his voice hoarse and his expression raw, whispered her name again. Hope? Please. But the sound barely penetrated the thick fog of disbelief surrounding her. Brooke reached out a tentative hand, her motherly instinct warring with a growing fury so intense she looked ready to ignite. Ridge paced, jaw clenched, wrestling the urge to storm after Sheila and drag her back to face whatever justice could be mustered against her. The wedding guests, still stunned into a kind of breathless paralysis, exchanged wide-eyed glances, uncertain whether to stay, leave, comfort the bride, or pretend this nightmare interruption hadn't just upended everything. Bill Spencer stood rigid at the end of the aisle, his usually commanding presence strangely altered, shoulders tense, eyes clouded with something dark and impenetrable, as he stared at the door Sheila had disappeared through, as though expecting it to burst open again in a second wave of destruction. But Sheila didn't return. And that somehow made it worse. because now the devastation belonged wholly to them. Hope, Liam whispered again, rising to his feet slowly, cautiously, like a man approaching a ledge with no railing. We can fix this. I can fix this. I swear, don't, she whispered shakily, wiping the wet shine from her cheeks. Just, don't right now. He froze, the simple request hitting harder than a scream. Hope turned away, her train whispering across the floor like the flutter of broken wings. She needed air. She needed clarity. She wasn't sure what she needed, except that she couldn't breathe inside that chapel another moment. But when she moved toward the doors, hands trembling, heart pounding, the room erupted with movement. Brooke caught her shoulder. Ridge stepped protectively beside her. Wyatt approached cautiously. Bill hovered silently, guilt and dread strangling him. Even Carter moved to block the exit as if worried Sheila lurked somewhere outside waiting to strike again. Honey, Brooke whispered, voice trembling with both love and panic, you don't have to decide anything right now. We can leave. We can go home. We can figure all this out later. Hope nodded faintly, but her gaze drifted back to Liam, broken, desperate Liam, who looked like the floor had swallowed the last bit of hope he'd ever had. He swallowed hard. I just need a moment, she whispered. I need to think. Liam stepped closer, but Bill grabbed his arm sharply, pulling him back. Let her breathe, Bill said quietly. Then with a slight tremble, she deserves that much. His voice cracked on the last word. Hope noticed it. Everyone noticed it. And for the first time she allowed herself to truly look at Bill. Not the ruthless mogul, not the domineering father figure, but the man who had just been publicly accused of hiding a life-altering secret. Bill, she said softly, her voice steadier now despite everything, is it true? What Sheila said about the test? About you knowing? The room held its breath. Bill's jaw worked as though forming the answer physically hurt him. He exhaled long and heavy. There was a test, he admitted. Gasps rippled across the chapel like a shockwave. But it wasn't legitimate. It couldn't be. Sheila manipulated something she always does. Liam didn't want to upset you with something so absurd. His gaze softened as it landed on his son. He was trying to protect you. Both of you. Hope felt the words like a stone dropping into the pit of her stomach. Not quite enough to steady her, but enough to pull her mind back into the present. And you, she asked, voice small. Were you trying to protect me too? Bill hesitated. Too long. Too obviously. And that hesitation, more than anything, sent a new jolt of uncertainty trembling through Hope's veins. Ridge stepped forward, irritated, protective. Enough of this, he snapped. This is not the time or place. But Hope raised a hand. No, she said softly. I want answers. And I want them now. Liam moved closer again. Hope, please listen, I wasn't hiding this because I believed it. I was hiding it because I didn't want that monster to get into your head. She's trying to destroy us, like she destroys everything she touches. He reached toward her hand again, and this time she didn't pull away. Not completely. But she didn't give him her hand either. It hovered between them, a fragile, trembling bridge neither could quite cross. I know Sheila wants to hurt us, Hope whispered, tears streaking down her cheeks again. But it hurts even more that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. That you and Bill handled it alone. Liam's throat tightened. I thought I was doing the right thing. Hope shook her head, her expression soft but unbearably sad. The right thing would have been honesty. Ridge stepped closer, his voice calmer now but still tight with anger. Let's get her out of here, he said to Brooke. Before the paparazzi outside get wind of this. Brooke nodded and draped her arm around Hope's shoulders, but Hope stepped away gently. I need a minute, she said again. Alone. Absolutely not. Brooke snapped. Not with Sheila out there, who knows what Sheila's gone, Hope said, her voice gaining strength. If she wanted to hurt me physically, she would have already done it. Ridge looked unconvinced. Hope, please, she whispered. Just let me breathe. Brooke and Ridge reluctantly stepped aside, though neither moved far. Hope pushed open the chapel doors, not dramatically, not with a breakdown or a scream, but with a quiet, exhausted resolve, and stepped into the cool, salty air of the cliffside terrace. The ocean wind immediately lifted her veil, wrapping it around her like a ghostly ribbon, but she didn't fix it. She just stood there, staring out at the shimmering water below, trying to make sense of a world that had shifted violently in the span of mere minutes. Behind her, Liam appeared in the doorway, stopping just short of crossing the threshold. "Can I?" "No," she said gently. "Not yet." He nodded, looking gutted, then retreated back inside. Hope closed her eyes, inhaling the briny breeze. The waves crashed below, rhythmic and grounding, a stark contrast to the chaos unraveling inside her mind. She replayed Sheila's words, every twisted syllable, trying to separate truth from manipulation. Could Liam really be Sheila's biological son? The idea alone was horrifying. But even worse was the possibility that he'd hidden the test results. That he'd faced that kind of earth-shattering revelation alone. That he'd carried that burden without trusting her enough to share it. And what about Bill? Why had he looked so stricken? So guilty? Something about his reaction chilled her deeper than Sheila's accusation itself. A soft creak of the door behind her made her turn slightly. Brooke stepped out cautiously. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "I know you said you wanted to be alone, but I needed to check on you." Hope didn't respond at first. She simply wiped her cheeks and asked in a voice so fragile Brooke's heart twisted, "Mom, what if it's true?" Brooke froze. "It's not. It can't be. You know Sheila. She's a master manipulator." "But the test," Hope whispered. "Liam saw it. Bill saw it. They believed it enough to keep it secret." "They believed it was dangerous," Brooke corrected softly. "Not true. Just dangerous." Hope took a shaky breath. "I love him, Mom. With everything in me. But what if loving him means always living with secrets? Always being blindsided? Always being hurt?" Brooke stepped closer, brushing her daughter's hair tenderly. "Hope, every couple has challenges. But this is not normal. This is not your burden to carry. And if Liam kept something this big from you, maybe you need to rethink whether he's ready for this marriage." Hope flinched. "I don't want to rethink anything." "I know," Brooke whispered. "But maybe you have to." Behind them, the chapel doors swung open again and Ridge stepped out, phone in hand, face tight. "It's already out," he said. Brooke stiffened. "What?" "The tabloids. Someone leaked that Sheila crashed the wedding. Paparazzi are swarming the driveway." Hope closed her eyes, a fresh wave of nausea rolling through her.